A few months ago, I was in class with my trainee teachers. Nothing unusual, just another day, just another lesson. So I gave them a task. Design a lesson plan. Objective, activities, assessment, all the usual. And within minutes, they were done. And I mean, done. Everything was there. Clear objective, structured activities, even a reflection at the end. I remember looking at the work and thinking, oh, wow, this is impressive. And honestly, a part of me was really proud of them. But a part of me was thinking, okay, when did they get this good? So I did what we usually do. I asked a follow-up question. Why did you choose this activity? And suddenly, the room went quiet. Not confused, not panicking, just quiet. So I tried again. Why does this actually work for your learners? Same thing. And that was the moment it hit me. They had all the answers, but they didn't have the thinking behind it. Now, as a TESL lecturer, I don't just teach English. I'm training future teachers, people who are going to walk into classrooms one day and shape how the next generation thinks, learns, and understands the world. So, when something feels off, I can't just ignore it. And I say this honestly, not as criticism, but because I've worked with these students long enough to know they can think. That's not the issue. The issue is they don't always need to. And the more I paid attention, the more I started noticing the same pattern. They could complete tasks, they could give answers, they could meet expectations. What's not to like about that? But when I asked them to explain, justify, adapt, that's where things started to fall apart. And at some point, I had to ask myself a slightly uncomfortable question. Have we created a system where getting the answers matters more than understanding it? There's actually a well-known idea in education from John Biggs that students can reproduce information without really understanding it. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it because this isn't just happening in my classroom, and we are seeing it more and more. Even large-scale studies like those from the OECD shows that students can give answers but struggle when they are asked to use them in real situations. Now, add something else into the picture. Technology. We are living in a time where answers is no longer difficult to get. They are instant, accessible, and sometimes they are generated for you, which is great until you ask someone, why? And that's where things get interesting, because the question is no longer, can students get the answer? We already know they can. The real question is, do they still need to think to get it? Now let's put it this way. It's a little like using GPS. At first it helps. It gets you where you need to go. But after a while, you realize something. You have stopped remembering the roads yourself. And I think that's where many of us are becoming concerned. Because when thinking becomes optional, learning changes. It becomes surface level, mechanical, something you complete instead of something you understand. And sometimes it feels a little like fast food. Quick, convenient, feels satisfying at first, but there's not always much depth to it. Now, I'm not here to say technology is the problem. It's not. In fact, I tell my trainee teachers to use it, explore it, test it, learn how it works. Because whether we like it or not, it's not going anywhere. And honestly, we have seen this before. Calculators didn't destroy mathematics. The internet didn't destroy knowledge. But both changed what we expected people to do with information. And AI is asking education to do the same thing again. But there's a difference between using a tool and letting the tool do the thinking for you. AI should be like training wheels, something that helps students move forward, not something they become afraid to ride without. And if we're not careful, that line becomes very easy to cross, not just for students, for all of us. There's already a growing conversation in education right now that AI isn't really the problem. It's what happens when thinking is no longer required. And if that continues, we are not just changing how students learn, we are changing what it means to think. And that is not a future we can afford. So I realized something had to change. Not them, but my approach. If I want my trainee teachers to think, then I need to put them in situations where thinking is unavoidable. So I started experimenting with my fellow colleagues from the language department. We brought them into a TESL academic online conference, not just to present ideas, but to defend them. Because presenting is easy. Explaining your thinking under pressure, now that's different. Then we push them into debates. And if you've ever watched a debate, you will know that there is no hiding them. No script to fall back on, no time to think later. You have to listen, respond, rethink, all in real time. And then we tried something even simpler. We created a space called Speaker's Corner. No scripts, no notes, no slides. Just a student, an idea, and a room full of people listening. At first, as expected, they struggled, and you could see it. They were searching for the correct answer, but there wasn't one. And slowly, something shifted. They stopped trying to be correct and started trying to make sense. And over time, I started seeing a difference. The answers became longer, clearer, more confident. They are still not perfect, but they are real. And that's where it clicked for me. The issue was never about ability. It was always about opportunity. We gave them answers, but not enough space to think. So now, I don't really worry about whether my trainee teachers can get the right answer. That's no longer the challenge. The real question is, when the answer is already there, will they still know how to think? Because one day, they are going to be teachers, and their students won't need someone who can just deliver content. Because good teachers were never meant to be answer machines. They were meant to be guides, mentors, facilitators, the people who help students make sense of things when the world gets complicated. And if we don't get that right now, we are not just affecting classrooms. We are shaping the kind of thinking that exists in the future. So today, I find myself asking a different question. Not, did they get it right? But, did they actually think about it? Because in the end, education was never about having all the answers. It was always about knowing what to do when the answers isn't given. Thank you.